Hey y'all, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. It's Yosha and I'm your go-to girl for all things real. So I recently traveled to the Dominican Republic and it was my first time traveling outside of the United States. So I decided to make this video to share some things that I wish I would have known prior to taking my first international trip, so that if you plan on getting your passport or plan on taking a trip soon, especially right now during Rona, you can know what to expect and some things that I learned. So this video is gonna be broken up into different parts. I have some little notes right here. I'm gonna start with talking about things you should know before your trip. So before your trip, definitely wanna go and get a Rona test. You can do it 3 days before your trip. You could do it 4 days before your trip. I wouldn't recommend doing it more than a week before, because you wanna be able to take it soon enough to where you can get the results back and they be relevant. I would rather find out that I have that while I'm at home, while I can use my insurance in the States, than to not test, because some countries don't require a test before, and then you find out when you have to test to go back home that you actually have COVID-19. The US requires it currently. For you to go back home, if you are a citizen or not, you still have to take your test. If you're vaccinated, you still have to take a test. So I think it's best to take one before, and take one, of course, before you go home, because you have no choice. You have to come back home. I know somebody, the person I used to go to church with, she went to Mexico and she found out that she had Rona in Mexico and had to stay for another 3 weeks in their hospitals. And you know, the language barrier, she speaks English mostly, and it was scary for her. The other thing that I recommend that you do before your trip is to get cash out. Get cash out. A lot of places accept USD, even though they have pesos or euros or whatever. If you get cash out, it's gonna be easy for you. When we went to Dominican Republic, my husband and I, we both had cash. I didn't have to use my credit or debit card at all, although I did bring both with me for emergencies, just in case my resort put a hold on my card or something. But it's good to have cash, because you are gonna go out, you're gonna explore, you're gonna wanna buy stuff, and a lot of times you can negotiate with the people if you have cash. They love cash, and US dollars typically hold more value than pesos and things like that. So if you have cash with you, you have more room to negotiate. But depending on where you stay, we stayed at a resort. They were able to give us change so we could break our bills down smaller, because the bank gave me larger bills, like 20s and 50s, and most people that locally in the Dominican Republic wouldn't have change for a 20 or a 50, especially a 50. They'll be like, well, I can sell you more souvenirs, but I only have $5, I only have $10. So definitely get you some cash before you go. I would recommend between $200 and $500, depending on how long you're staying and how much you want to spend. The majority of my cash went to souvenirs and tipping, and I came home with change left because I'm frugal. We were at an all-inclusive resort, so that meant all the food was included, all the drinks were included, rides to and from the airport were included. Our travel agent, shout out to A Brown Planning, I'll leave her information down below. She did such a great job, and all-inclusive truly meant all-inclusive. Like, we didn't even have to pay for our COVID tests. And I looked at the sign, y'all. Those COVID tests would have been $25 to $90, depending on if you wanted rapid or if you wanted the PCR. So just bring cash with you guys. And if you can do all-inclusive, which this is something you would do before you even are on the way to the trip, this is in the planning phase, I recommend it because you're gonna save more money. Yes, it's gonna be more per night. It's probably gonna be more money. You're talking thousands of dollars for your trip. But with it being all-inclusive, if you plan it, like, you know, right now we're currently planning our next trip for 2022. So if you start planning it a year in advance, then that $1,000 being paid over 12 months, or, you know, $1,500 being paid over 12 months is much better than finding out about it 3 months before the trip, 4 months before the trip, 6 months before the trip, you know? So definitely want to bring your cash. You definitely want to get your Rona test before you go, even if it's not required. It's a peace of mind thing. And then if there is an e-ticket required, which for Dominican Republic there was, that is a form that you fill out, and it basically gives them all of the information about you before you enter the country. Where are you from? Who are you traveling with? Where are you staying? Are you traveling for business? Are you traveling for leisure? It's a form that they require for you to use to go to the country and to go out of. The best way to find out if you need this is to go to the airline's website that you're booked with, which we flew with Delta Airlines. Delta has this really good checklist. It tells you everything that you need to know before you travel, and just read over that. You can also go to the government website for the country that you're visiting. I did that as well, but I found that information through Delta Airlines. That's going to tell you everything you need to know about curfews, requirements for COVID, things like that. Like, you know, is this area on restriction? These are things that you want to know before you go. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about what you need to know during your trip. Things to know and do during your trip. So if you're staying at a resort like we were, I would recommend making reservations for the restaurants that they have at the resort. 9 times out of 10, the restaurant food is going to be better than the buffet food. My husband and I figured this out the hard way when it was halfway through the trip. We stayed for 5 days, 4 nights. By day 3, we realized, oh shoot, we should have been making reservations because this buffet food is hit or miss. So when you arrive and you check in, ask about the food options, and if they tell you that they have buffets or establishments that are open 24/7, make note of that, because you might get hungry, especially if you're up at like 1 a.m. in the morning. The restaurants are not going to be open that late. Then ask them about the sit down places and which ones they recommend, and make reservations. You can always miss the reservation. They're not going to charge a room for missing the reservation, but it's just well, where we were, my husband is listening because he was eating while I started. You want to get in, babe? Our resort, they did not charge. It's just a good backup plan because we didn't really love the food on vacation. As much as I loved our experience, the food was the one thing that I felt like I could have had better at. So I say all that to say, make reservations during your trip. Another thing to do during your trip is set up your COVID test. The U.S. requires that you take a COVID test within 3 days of your departure from the country. It doesn't matter if you're vaccinated or not. It doesn't matter if you had a negative test before. You have to have a negative test that you took during your trip in order to go home. Within 3 days before. So we took our test within 2 days before. We were there from a Thursday to Desi's in here. Okay, now you can see him. We were there from Thursday to Monday, and we took our test on Saturday. Technically, it was 3 days, but it's not 3 days. It's 2 days because, you know, Saturday, Sunday, leaving Monday. That's technically, I felt like if they're being technical, it really Friday would have been the right day to do it, but it's within 3 days. It doesn't have to be exact. After your trip, just keep in mind that you have to enter the country again through customs, and that process is long. That was probably the worst part of the experience for me. That line was so freaking long trying to get back into Atlanta. I'm gonna plop a video right here so y'all can see how long that line was. No one told me about that. No one explained that to me. The reason why you have to do that is because they want to make sure you're not bringing drugs from the country that you just visited back into the U.S. That's pretty much the purpose of it. We were back in Atlanta at 6:30, and because of that customs line, we didn't leave the airport until almost 8, maybe 8:15. Know that if you have a direct flight, then you can take things home with you. Like, once you get through TSA in the foreign country, you can take stuff home with you, but you cannot bring things with you. Like, for instance, Mama Juana was really big in Dominican Republic, so I wanted to bring some back. Hector from our resort, he actually sent us a complimentary bottle of tequila. We didn't even drink it, and we didn't get to bring it with us because you can't bring anything with you before you get through TSA. Once you get through TSA, the airport might have like shops and stuff like that you can buy things. And so that is where you can bring gifts if you have a direct flight. If you have a flight that stops in Florida, then you have to go through that process all over again. So it's best to wait until you get to your final flight before you buy anything to bring home. So
or check a bag, because if you check your bag, it's a lot easier than not checking it and trying to get it through. It's just really hectic.
Yeah, and they will take your stuff from you.
They need to be there 3 hours early.
No. See, that's why hubby is here, because I forgot some stuff I didn't write down. So 2 more things that you need to know before you travel. Number 1, for international flights, be there 3 hours before, going both ways, because sometimes things can get backed up. It could be traffic. TSA can be really long. The lines can be busy. International moves pretty quickly, in my opinion. But just to be on the safe side, get there 3 hours early. We did that, and it just made that morning not so stressful for us. And if you know you're not a morning person, do not book a morning flight. Honestly, I recommend that you book a flight that arrives in the afternoon, like around check-in time. And then you book a flight going home after your checkout time, so that you can enjoy half of the day of your last day in that place. Like, it was really nice for us to wake up early and have breakfast and then walk the beach one last time before we had to go home. Whereas when we went to Las Vegas, our flight was at like 6 in the morning. So our 4th day was really like not a 4th day.
Always make sure you have your passport. It doesn't sound important until you realize if you don't have it, you ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good one.
Make sure you have it. Wear comfortable stuff to fly in. A lot of folks wearing jeans, and if you get caught in the middle seat or a window seat and you don't have a lot of room, it's not very comfortable. It's not very comfortable at all. Eat something before you fly. If you know you're not buying food at the airport and you don't plan on eating anything else besides those little peanuts, eat. One thing we definitely got one thing we got to try was the VIP lounge before we came back to America. Leticia,
I'm gonna insert a clip right here.
She told us about it, and it was $25 for us. But it's a certain amount of drinks you get at the bar. You get beer, you get coffee and wine and different stuff like that. They have little sandwiches and stuff you can eat. You charge your phone. It's very quiet. It's peaceful. It's nobody really in there talking loud. You
can take a nap. If you got there like really early, you could go in and take a nap before your flight. And they have a pool. The one in Punta Cana airport had a pool.
And they had nice bathrooms. They had elevators. It was just away from the hustle and bustle. I know Delta Sky Miles has that. I've never used it before. I've never used theirs either. I knew they had it because I've heard of people talking about it.
Yeah.
But if it's something you would like to invest in just to relax and get a chance to sit down and be away from stuff, if it's close to your gate or you're there with enough time to not miss your flight, then that might be something to look at.
You can't get anyone to drop you off at the airport. Instead of using Uber, instead of using Lyft, find a covered parking lot. We use the parking spot 1, which is over in Camp Creek. If you're in Atlanta, it's over in Camp Creek. If you prepay in advance online, you will save money. They have options to where you can pay after you leave or you can pay before. I got a discount through my travel agent, but you can, find different discounts on Groupon or online, save 10%, 20% off. And honestly, it ends up being equal to or less than what you would spend when you take an Uber. And the good thing is you don't have to worry about somebody getting lost or taking you to the wrong airport or the wrong side of the airport or them making you miss your flight, as long as you leave, like he said, 3 hours before. It was some people on our bus coming to the international airport. They were like, oh my gosh, our flight leaves in less than 2 hours. And we were looking at them like, I hope y'all make it. But it's like, it ain't the driver's fault that you didn't get to the airport all the time. But they're really professional. They get you there. They know where they're going. And it was really a stress-free experience. There's nothing like when you get off the plane knowing you finna go to your car and go home. You don't have to wait for somebody to come get you and they can't find it or they went to the wrong place. I've experienced all of that before. So definitely consider using the airport shuttles. It's, like I said, it's super convenient. You can make the reservation online. They give you a QR code. You bring it to the gate. You scan it. You park wherever you want. And then they pick you up. And they take you to the airport. They give you a little card. You use the card and you call them on the departure side. And there's designated spots for the shuttle service. Very convenient. Honestly, you can use that like for domestic travel too.
if you're going to a country where you're not familiar with the language, try to brush up on it.
Yes, thank you. I forgot.
One thing I used while we were there, we had a translation issue. I had Google Translate, so I get the roughest translation I could get and let them read it, and they kind of had a understanding of what we were going for. They could get us in the ballpark of that.
That's a great tip. See how I'm forgetting? So me, I took Spanish elementary school, middle school, high school, college. When I worked at the airport back in college, I was the only one who spoke a little bit of Spanish, so I used to have to kind of like speak to the Spanish speaking customers. So going to Dominican Republic, I had to brush up on my Spanish in the moment because I didn't take Des's advice and do that before we left. But you know, they were like, "You're pretty good. Your Spanish pretty good." I was like, "El poco," you know, I only know a little bit of Spanish, but definitely consider looking at some YouTube videos. Some common terms that I would recommend you knowing are like, where is the bathroom? How much is it? Where is, you could like, you know, donde, you know, you ask them where something is, or se habla inglés, to ask them, do you know how to speak in English? If you don't know how to speak in the language, which I'm referring to Spanish because we went to a Spanish speaking country, you can ask them if they know how to speak English, or like you can say como se dice and then insert English word, which means like, how do you say this in Spanish? Some of the people don't know English and some people are bilingual, so honestly, it just depends on where you go. But I feel like when you're in their country and their culture, you should kind of adapt because you're not at home. They are. So definitely brush up on it. I have a channel that I can recommend. I think it's called Sis Jackie. I'm going to leave her down below. She teaches you how to say things in French and Spanish. So definitely check her out. She does free YouTube lessons teaching you how to say common things.
One thing I did before we left is I looked up the crime rate based on where we were.
So I didn't think about that. I'll be right back. You scoot over and I'll be right back.
I tried to have an understanding of what we can deal with. I brushed up on a little bit of history just to have an understanding. So it makes a difference. Simple stuff that I always see: bring extra chargers, bring extra clothes, bring extra socks. When housekeeping comes in, of course, put your things away. Not accusing housekeeping of taking anything, but it's a safety thing. One thing that Yosha did that definitely helped us on the way coming back, we asked housekeeping for extra trash bags. So we put all our dirty clothes in the trash bags, and then we were able to pack other stuff. So it kind of saved us on space. One thing that helped me a lot, I injured my back while I was there, to the point of where I cannot feel my fingers and toes. It's very good to be nice to the people who are helping you at your hotel resort. It helped us a lot because they were able to give me a lot of ice. I probably in 2 or 3 days had about 15 pounds of ice that they delivered to the room that was just sitting on my shoulders and my knees and my back to help us feel better. For the folks who, if you go to a resort where they drive you around, try to be ready if you call them, because they're not just working with us. The resort we stayed at had 2 resorts in one.
4.
Or 4, sorry.
So there was
4.
Bavaro, Suites and Spa, Punta Cana, and Las Tres, and there was a third one that was, I think, adults only.
So you want to be ready if you're going to use those services. You want to make sure you're ready. If you know you like to drink, and I'm sure nobody thinks of this, make sure you look up what kind of liquor is traditional there. You may not want to drink what they offer. It might not be what you want to have. That may cause you to check a bag. And that's cool.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
You have to be mindful of that, because although all of our stuff was all inclusive, I like scotch. They did not really have the scotch that I like to drink. I also like bourbon. They did not have bourbon at all. Whiskey was very hard to come by there. So most of what I drank was beer. And I hadn't really had that beer before, but of course you're there and you've already paid for it. You end up drinking it. But when you go to these resorts, ask these questions so you have an understanding of what you're doing. Because we didn't leave the resort except for the day we went on the party boat. So
that's true. And I just thought of another thing. See, that's why I like you. You stimulate my mind and make me think of other things. Nah, I forgot it. I think it's good if you don't want to spend on checking bags. You want to bring your carry-on suitcase and you want to bring a book bag.
Yeah.
The book bag is going to give you the most space. Like, I'm not a really high maintenance girl. I know some girls, they like to bring like different wigs to match their outfit and different purses and makeup and all that stuff. You can bring your makeup, but instead camera died because we talked for a long time. Instead of bringing like a small purse as your personal item, you want to bring a book bag because you can fit your purse in it, you can fit your camera, you can fit your laptop if you need to bring it, and leave some space in the book bag for your souvenirs. I purposely did not fill my bag up with much. I brought this blanket. This is my travel blanket. It keeps me warm on the plane. And it smells like home. Like when I can't sleep, I wrap it around myself in the room. I brought my camera. I brought a fanny pack. Des and I both have fanny packs. Those are so convenient. You know, you can put your passport in it, your wallet, keep it with you at all times. But the book bag is spacious and it has room. You know, I always like to go to the airport with sneakers on my feet, and then I pack all my sandals in the bag because I wear the sneakers to the airport. So use the book bag so that you have space for all your essentials, things that you can't live without, i.e. your IDs, your passports, your money. The stuff that if all your stuff was lost, you could get back home with this stuff. That's the stuff you put in the book bag. And then the stuff that you wearing, you put in the carry-on. Because at the end of the day, if the plane is full, they're gonna make you check your bag. You don't have to pay for it, but they're gonna make you check your bag. So you wanna have the book bag with all the important and expensive ticket items, phone, chargers, cameras, laptops on you on the plane, and then everything else in a suitcase.
If you are like me and you experience some kind of pain, make sure if you have medicine you take, bring it. If you need
asthma,
if you need a prescription, go see a doctor. Go see whoever prescribed it for you. And we're not talking about your cousin who just gave you this because it was their stuff. Go get your actual prescription, because if it's something that they don't use in that country, you still need to have a form of reference of what may be similar to it.
So they can help you.
Some people don't know just based on looking at it because we're American. Also, realize when you're going into other countries, they know you're a tourist.
Oh, that's a good one, babe.
You think you don't look, sound, smell like a tourist. Yeah, we had this guy come up to the pool one day and he basically told us we smell American.
Yeah.
And I understood that for what it was because we use different products than the stuff they use. We dress differently. I don't think I saw a person there the whole time we were there who wore anything Nike, Under Armour, Jordans, Adidas. They don't wear that kind of stuff. So when we're wearing it, we stick out. We don't have a Dominican accent.
Right.
We speak very clear, proper English. You stand out. So don't go and think, oh, I'm going to just blend in. If you got the accent, you know people there, kudos. But if you're staying on a resort, understand that and behave as such. Like, don't go over there causing problems. Don't go over there trying to be just rowdy with your folks, and don't think that the way they behave may be different than you. You're guests. We're all guests when we go. We're in somebody else's, essentially their home country. And we have to behave a certain way and even adapt to their customs, like Yosha said, because it's different. I remember one morning, Yosha, we were sitting at breakfast and she was like, they cook all their vegetables in vinegar. And I didn't think anything of it until I actually sat down and ate, and I was like, I get it now. Because that's just the way they cook. A lot of the time,
they don't use a lot of salt either,
y'all. Even with their breakfast. Their breakfast is different. Their orange juice is no sugar.
Their mimosas to me, but
were not hitting on anything because
the one that Dan brought me at dinner was great.
Oh,
it was
see,
good.
you
not that orange one that y'all, everybody at the table gave him back.
It was terrible.
We had our second morning or third morning, we had breakfast with like 15 people and everybody gave their mimosa back.
Yeah, so I mean it's just stuff like that. When you look and you think you're gonna adapt to certain stuff, just be mindful. Do your research on whatever resort you want to go to, whatever hotel you're staying at. Look at how far your stuff is. If you know where you're going, try to time out where you're going. And just have an idea. Also, download WhatsApp. If you are outside of the country, you need it.
If you have Metro, by T-Mobile, you gonna need it because your service is not going out the country
and
with you.
And even if you have T-Mobile, I think Q was telling us it's $5 a day for you to get your phone calls, your text messages.
It's $5 a month to add it to your plan going forward.
Well,
if you want to use it, or it's 25 cents a minute for any phone call that you make.
I think she said it was $5 a day for you to have all the extra instead of paying your 25 cents a minute for your phone calls.
Oh.
But you want to make sure that you have, if you going somewhere without Wi-Fi,
that service is gonna suck.
I don't know what to tell you based on your phone service. I'm not sure. I know it didn't do the greatest for us. Our Wi-Fi was spotty just because we're not normally on that network, and there are thousands of people on the resort at one time trying to connect to Wi-Fi.
It worked better at night. Like, yeah, I was able to edit 3 out of 4 of the vacation vlogs at night because I couldn't sleep, and get them uploaded on YouTube. So it wasn't horrible, but it just depended on where you were at. And again, I have Metro by T-Mobile. So the Wi-Fi worked perfect, but if we were outside, it didn't work. We were communicating with each other. We went with a group of like 30 people, maybe a little more, maybe 35. And so we were communicating in Facebook Messenger, which does work internationally, just like WhatsApp. If you don't have Metro, you have like T-Mobile, AT&T, one of the better, more expensive phone carriers. Messaging work. Like, Des could send and receive text. Yeah. I couldn't. My service, once it realized I was not in the United States, that thing said no service until we got back in Atlanta and landed. You definitely want to make sure you have Wi-Fi, and just know that if you go outside and the Wi-Fi is weaker, it's not going to work. So for me, I couldn't see some of the messages from my group because I didn't have service on my phone, but my husband could see it. But then when the Wi-Fi was weak, it wasn't coming through for neither of us. Right. So you just have to be mindful of that. And another thing to pack is a flashlight. At night, it was so freaking dark on the resort. We got lost. We couldn't find our room. And it was kind of scary. We were like wandering around, and it wasn't well lit. So we had to use the lights on our phone, but that light wasn't even that good. So on my next trip, I definitely would just pack like a little flashlight with me and keep it in my fanny pack just in case, because you know, you don't want to be scared walking around. We were in a safe place. We weren't off the resort, but you know, some of y'all watching, y'all might stay at an Airbnb or stay somewhere that isn't on a resort. So yeah.
You also want to make sure you pack bug spray. We were not far from the beach.
That's a good one.
The mosquitoes were
they tore my face up. I kept look at my face. It's still like, hold on, that mark right there. Y'all can't see it. It's focusing on Des. I got one right here. They bit me right here. It looked like acne. It's not acne. It's mosquito bites. I don't put bug spray on my face because I sweat. If I put it on my face and it runs down, it's gonna get in my eyes. I don't have time for it. But my body, I think I only got bit like 6 times, which is great for me because in Atlanta, if I go outside in the summertime, they bite me up if I don't have spray on my body. So definitely pack a travel size off spray, bug spray, and your suntan lotion. Pack both of those because it's good for your skin. Even if you melanated like we are, you still need your sunscreen, and you definitely need that bug spray. I was spraying that thing faithfully after I got bit up on my face the second morning. But yeah, I feel like we gave you guys a lot of good stuff. If we missed anything, leave it down in the comment section for us down below. So I know some people are going to be wanting this content because they're interested in traveling. I would definitely recommend the Dominican Republic. I'd love to go back there again in the future. Thanks, Des. You have anything else?
No, just make sure you have a way to communicate with family and friends. I would say that's important. You never know what's going to happen. So you want to be prepared. You always hope for the best, plan for the worst, and just make sure you have a good time.
Yes. Subscribe. We're on the road to 10K. I'm on the road to 10K. Hey, and I'm close. Let me know if you have any other video requests, questions. Check out all my Dominican Republic vlogs. I'll leave them down here in the description box. We had a good time, y'all. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye.